Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower. Modern Grower is the go-to source for 100% organic, GMO-free microgreen seeds. Trusted by hundreds of growers for high quality and low prices. If you're growing microgreens, start saving at shop.moderngrower.co.
My big question is this a possible way of like making a living? Like if you decided we want to start a farm and we'd want to just grow herbs, if you're selling at a farmer's market or whatever, let's just say, farmer's market, kind of you're living in a suburban or semi rural, or maybe you are urban, basically any other context where vegetables would be the same, but we're just removing vegetables and transplanting in medicinal herbs. Are we at a point sort of with this movement, or to where people could actually begin to do this and say, like, I'm a medicinal herb farmer and like this is my living that I make?
Yeah, I think so.
Variables.
Yeah, I think that to do that, from what I've seen, is that you would need to have a handful of customers that you like contract grow for, where they're like, okay, this is what I need for the year. So you've got your plan, you've got your crops, that this is how much revenue you're going to make. Do I think that you could make a living just growing herbs going to the farmer's market? In my opinion, no. And because that's such a small market, but when you can reach the whole country, you can ship your herbs, you can, like we do, things like that. And you work with a few of these big, whether they're herbalists or tea companies or skincare makers or, anything like that you kind of have this pre-order for the year. That's where I think maybe you could do it, because you would see what that revenue looks like. But I also think, like, to grow on that scale, now there's a lot of factors and variables, like what is your overhead, what are your expenses, like all these things. You may have to become a little more mechanized with the way that you process your herbs and like if you sell dried herbs or fresh herbs, the way you harvest them. Like, you would definitely have to find things to become more efficient, which we're still working on. Something to mention is that we sell most of our herbs fresh, not dried. So I'd say like 75%, 80% are sold fresh. So we ship our fresh herbs, or they're locally delivered. And then kind of what we don't sell fresh, then we dry, and we offer that in our apothecary online. But most of what we're working with is fresh herbs, because there is less work in that than the drying. Now, these big farms, there's some, Zach Wood's Herb Farm is a good one. Foster Farm Botanicals, like, they're bigger. So you can look at some of the stuff they're doing, and they do have like this big equipment that you run it through, and it processes them, it dries them, like, it's incredible. But you're talking about that, like, tens of thousands of dollars in equipment. But if you have the startup capability for that, then I totally think, because there are farms that are doing it.
Do you envision a day in the future where you could have how you have your kind of local farms where you're feeding the community around you, that you also have your local medicinal herb farms that are growing medicine for the people around you? That becomes kind of almost as ubiquitous as like a local vegetable farmer?
I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but
like, I would.
You would need 10 vegetable farmers, maybe only one. Because a
you're
little
saying,
medicine,
like, it can't be like saturated market.
The vegetables, you have a lot more possibilities, a lot more doors. I think it's. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I think it's totally feasible if the scenario is what she talks about. But I think there's so many variables. It's still going to be easier to make money on vegetables. I'm pretty sure about that. It's just don't you think?
I think, like, what you're mentioning, though, like this possibility of, like, you've got your food farmers, and then you've also got like your medicine farm. They're kind of in the middle, where somebody's like, okay, I'm going to go buy my eggs and my chicken, like my meat farmer, and my vegetables. And now, oh, my family, like, we need to restock our home apothecary. So I'm going to go see my herb farmer. And I think, like, that idea that each community had that would be, like, incredible.
That's happening, I feel like.
I think, yeah. And I think that will continue to grow as more and more people kind of opt out of, the medical system. And so that they want to take that into their hands for their own family and themselves. And I think that would be like an ideal, that would be amazing.
But I think if you talk about the business aspect of it, a little on these medicinal herbs goes a long way, you know. Uh, and so, if you really want to try to create a farm, and this is your livelihood, I think an herb farm may be a very good second job. Like we have this piece of land and we want to concentrate. Obviously, it depends. There's so many variables, but I'm imagining something like what we have, and then you can rotate your vegetables, and then you have. I mean, you can make medicine. That's a great job. You actually take your crop and you make your medicine.
I've seen more and more people doing that where they're growing their herbs and making their teas and tinctures from the herbs.
Then I think you can.
And I think that's pretty cool too to see like that full circle. Because there are plenty of people that are like, whoa, I don't know what to do with this. This is too intimidating for me. Like, I just want you to make it and I'm going to buy it from you, which is fine. So
that was actually my next question was, would it be better to primarily focus on just growing the raw product or to begin to value add the herbs that you're growing and let that sort of be the main kind of revenue generator?
Mm-hmm. We've gone like back and forth about that over the last couple of years of like continuing to grow the herbs, but also making like herbal tinctures and teas and things. And for us personally, it wasn't something we felt like we could take on at the moment. But is it in the future? Like maybe.
It's a whole different thing, but yeah.
But then I think what then like my brain goes to is like, well, we're certified organic. So then our tinctures, we have to get certified. And then there's like a whole, like the labeling, and there's just a whole other, like you got to have a certified kitchen and all these different things that would be a whole undertaking in itself. But I think that's a beautiful business model that I just bought like a tincture that I needed from a herb farm in North New York, upstate New York. And they grew or they foraged. This was black walnut, and our black walnuts are done, but they had foraged their black walnut hulls and made a tincture. And so everything came from their property. And so like, I think that's amazing because it's so closed loop. And if you can have that in your community so that medicine came from your region, even better. Because there is something about, people talk about like the food that we grow, like each food grown locally for obvious reasons, but also because it's grown in your climate and in your, your region, and there's a resonance in your body with food that is grown in your temperature and your climate. Well, the medicine, same thing. So I think that's really cool if that's still coming from.
Hello, growers. If you enjoy podcasts like this one, tune into my podcast In Search of Soil on YouTube for a deep dive into the mysteries beneath our feet. Join me as I explore topics such as mycorrhizal fungi, mushrooms, compost, biochar, and more. It's a soil nerd's dream. We're going deep. We're talking to scientists about all things soil related. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or a gardener just starting out, our podcast has something for everyone. Listen in and grow with us. Check out In Search of Soil on YouTube.